What happens when a cartoon causes panic, outrage, or even medical emergencies? It gets banned. Today we'll look at cartoon episodes banned for being too controversial. My goal this year is to give you guys double the amount of videos that I upload for you guys, but it's actually turning out to be a more daunting task than I realized because, you know, we're not some content farm or anything, but I am not going to give up, and it would really help if you subscribe so you do not miss any of our new videos. And I promise to do my best for you guys. I'm Visual Venture, and as always, you guys are awesome. Peppa Pig. In 2004, Peppa Pig released an episode called Mr. Skinny Legs. Kids loved it, but when parents saw it, they panicked because that episode told kids to do something that could be deadly. And this wasn't a small issue. Peppa Pig was influencing millions of children. Its official channel has over 40 million subscribers. It also has 30 billion views across 8,000 videos. So you can imagine how many kids watch it. Peppa Pig was made for preschoolers, and these kids are still learning how the world works. That means kids don't just watch Peppa, they copy her. So what dangerous lesson did this episode teach? In this episode, George finds a spider in the bathroom. Instead of running away, he picks it up.
George likes the spider. The spider likes George.
George shows the spider to Peppa, but when she sees it, she panics.
You have to help me with the tea party.
Eventually, Daddy Pig comes to calm Peppa down. He calmly explains that spiders are very, very small and can't hurt you. So instead of getting rid of the spider, he encourages Peppa to befriend it. By the end of the episode, Peppa is about to have a tea party with the spider.
Mummy, Daddy, sit down. We are all going to have tea with Mr. Skinny Legs.
The message is straightforward. Kids shouldn't be scared of spiders because spiders are harmless. For most of the world, it was a reasonable lesson, but in Australia, it was unacceptable because Australian spiders aren't just scary, they're deadly. Australia reports over 2,000 serious spider incidents every year. Some of the world's most poisonous spiders live there. One bite from the wrong one can end a person in minutes. Telling kids to treat spiders like friends in this case was a very bad idea. Luckily, parents in Australia noticed the episode quickly. They went on a campaign to get it banned. Australia's public broadcasters, ABC and Nick Jr., were the first to ban the cartoon. They said it sent the inappropriate message that spiders are friendly and not to be feared. But they didn't stop there. Another Peppa Pig episode featuring the same spider character was also banned in Australia. It became an unofficial policy. No spider-friendly messages on Australian TV. If you know this next cartoon, you'd be surprised that it is surprisingly vulgar for what it's supposed to be. Dexter's Laboratory. Dexter's Laboratory was one of Cartoon Network's biggest shows, but people don't know that one episode was loaded with so much profanity that it had to be buried. It's shocking because the concept of the show was so innocent. Dexter's Laboratory was about Dexter, a boy genius with a secret lab under his bedroom. But one person made his life a living hell: his loud, annoying sister, Dee Dee. The series started in 1995, but just 2 years later, in 1997, they created the most offensive episode ever. The episode was titled Rude Removal, and as soon as you see the title card, you'll know there's a problem. Dee Dee flips the middle finger, and Dexter moons the camera. The story wasn't any better. Dexter is fed up with Dee Dee's rude behavior, so he builds a machine to remove her behavior literally. He's going to zap the rudeness out of her.
This machine has the ability to remove and contain the most annoying personality trait known to man: rudeness.
But Dee Dee refuses to cooperate.
Oh yeah! You're the rude one, brother.
Dexter and Dee Dee fight and fall inside the machine together. That's when it goes from bad to worse. The machine malfunctions. Instead of removing their bad behavior, the machine duplicates them. Now there's a polite Dexter and a polite Dee Dee. And there's a rude Dexter and a rude Dee Dee. And when I say rude, I mean vulgar.
Let up, Ollie. Beats the crap out of me. Why, you're in Dexter's laboratory, silly.
The rude versions of Dexter and Dee Dee drop the F word over and over again.
Oh dear.
The episode was finished and ready to air on TV. The last step was Cartoon Network's approval. Executives watched the final cut and they were horrified. They banned the episode on the spot. They didn't even show it to a test audience. They just pulled it. Rude removal never aired on TV, but animators mentioned it in interviews, but they had no footage to back up their claims. For years, fans assumed rude removal was just a rumor. Then in 2013, Cartoon Network broke the silence. They confirmed the episode was real, and they were going to put it online. Even after the announcement, some fans refused to believe it. They left comments like, "It doesn't exist. Prepare to be disappointed. When are you people gonna realize that rude removal doesn't exist?" But Cartoon Network wasn't bluffing. They uploaded the full episode online through Adult Swim. It was raw and uncensored, exactly as it was made in 1997.
Hey, watch where you're throwing that! Let's go!
The video went viral, and today you can find rude removal with a quick search on Google. Up next is a cartoon that played too much with the devil. Darkwing Duck. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, America was in the middle of something called the Satanic Panic. At the time, people believed that cults were trying to recruit and harm kids. One of the biggest fears was that TV shows were filled with hidden messages designed to lure children into the occult. And right in the middle of that Satanic Panic, Disney released a cartoon where a child made a deal with the devil. It went as badly as you'd expect. The controversial episode aired in October 1992 on the Darkwing Duck TV show. Darkwing Duck followed Drake Mallard, a mild-mannered duck by day, but at night he became a superhero called Darkwing. Each episode showed him fighting criminals while trying to raise his daughter Gosselin. But one episode went in a direction no one expected. It was titled Hot Spells. In the story, Gosselin visits a magic school. Almost immediately, she was bullied by the mean kids at school. Upset and alone, she wanders through the halls. That's when she meets the school janitor. But this isn't a normal janitor. For starters, he had a strange name.
Bring Yorick in, will you? The name's Beelzebub, Chief Custodian.
His name is BLZ for Beelzebub. Now, Beelzebub isn't a made-up cartoon character. He's very real. In the Bible, he's Prince of Devils. In many other religions, Beelzebub is one of the 7 princes of hell. That means he's a very powerful and dangerous demon. So in this cartoon, the janitor is Beelzebub in disguise. He realizes that Gosselin is struggling and offers to help. He leads her into a secret library filled with forbidden spell books, and he convinces her to cast a spell. Gosselin reads from one of the books and casts a dark spell. She feels powerful. She thinks she's becoming a real magician. But there's one thing Beelzebub hasn't told her. Using that dark spell means she's drawing power from him. Without realizing it, Gosselin just made a deal with the devil. Eventually, Beelzebub drops the disguise and reveals his true form.
Look, kid, where do you think your power came from,
From there, the story gets more unsettling. Beelzebub tries to drag someone to hell. Darkwing tries to stop him. A lot happens, but in the end, they defeat Beelzebub. It was obviously a weird story, but somehow Disney approved it and it aired on TV. The backlash was instant. The moment it aired, phone lines at ABC lit up. Parents were furious. They saw a little girl gaining power by making a deal with a demon. To them, the cartoon made it look like working with the devil had rewards. During the height of Satanic Panic, that message was explosive. Many parents already believed TV was pushing kids toward the occult. Now they felt like they had proof. ABC panicked. Disney pulled the episode the very next day. They refused to rerun it, sell it, or stream it anywhere. The only copies that exist today are the ones people recorded on VHS the night it aired. This next cartoon has been banned for nearly 100 years. Mickey Mouse. In the 1920s, Mickey Mouse cartoons followed the same pattern. Mickey got into trouble. He found a way out. Everything ended on a happy note. That formula made Mickey Mouse a hit from the late 1920s into the early 1930s. Then Disney made a mistake. They broke the pattern. And what they created was so disturbing that theaters refused to show it. It became one of the first cartoons ever banned. The controversial cartoon came out in 1933. It was titled The Mad Doctor. The cartoon begins with Mickey waking up to strange noises. His dog Pluto is crying because he's being kidnapped by a hooded figure. The kidnapper drags the dog through the woods. It's a scary scene with wind, thunder, and lightning. Pluto is taken into a dark castle. Inside, the hooded figure removes his cloak. It's the Mad Doctor, a crazy scientist obsessed with animal experiments. And he kidnapped Pluto for his next experiment. The doctor plans to cut off Pluto's head, sew it onto a chicken's body, and see if the creature can lay eggs that hatch into puppies. Yeah, that's the actual plot of a Mickey Mouse cartoon. In the lab, Pluto and a chicken are strapped to operating tables. The experiment is about to begin. Meanwhile, Mickey races through the castle to rescue his dog, but it's a trap. The Mad Doctor captures Mickey and ties him down. Then he lowers a massive buzzsaw toward Mickey's body. He wants to chop Mickey in half. Mickey can't break free. Then just before it's too late, Mickey wakes up. It was all a dream. Mickey is in his bedroom and Pluto is safe. The dog runs into Mickey's arms. So why on earth did Disney make such a terrifying cartoon? Well, they said it was supposed to be a tribute to classic horror movies like Frankenstein. But viewers didn't care about the tribute. They only cared about how disturbing it felt. Back in the early 1930s, most people didn't have TV sets at home. So cartoons like Mickey Mouse were shown in theaters. Theaters in the US were the first to see The Mad Doctor, and they disliked it so much that many flat out refused to play it. The theaters said it looked too scary for kids. Some other countries felt the same. In the UK, the Board of Film Censors banned it. Then Germany banned it too. Clearly people didn't love this cartoon. After that, The Mad Doctor disappeared. Disney put it aside and stopped promoting it. But it didn't disappear forever. For some reason, folks at Disney didn't set up the copyright for The Mad Doctor properly, and that copyright error allowed it to slip into the public domain. That's why today you can find The Mad Doctor on YouTube. It's one of the few Mickey cartoons you can legally watch for free. This next cartoon was so disturbing, it never even made it to the screen. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003. If you grew up in the 2000s, you probably watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The show followed 4 turtle brothers who fight crime. It was action-packed and perfect for kids, but in 2005, one episode pushed the show into nightmare territory. It was titled Insane in the Membrane, and it centered around one character, Baxter Stockman. Baxter started out as a genius scientist, but he worked for Shredder, the Turtles' main enemy. Every time Baxter failed, Shredder punished him with surgery. Each failure cost him a part of his body. By the time this episode begins, Baxter isn't even human. He's just a brain and a spine floating inside a glass tank. But Baxter refuses to give up. He wants to rebuild his body. However, a friend warns him about the dangers. Rebuilding a body from scratch could damage his mind. Baxter doesn't care. He's a genius, and he finds a way to clone a new version of himself. And at first it works perfectly. He can walk, he can speak, he feels human again. Then his new body starts to fall apart literally. His skin, his fingers, and his face begin to disintegrate. As his body decays, so does his mind.
This experiment is a catastrophe!
By the end of the episode, Baxter has completely lost his mind. It no longer feels like a kid's cartoon. It feels more like a psychological horror. The Ninja Turtles cartoon was rated TV Y7. That means the show is designed for kids over age 7. This episode went far beyond that rating. It showed a mental breakdown and emotional torment. It was extreme even for adults. Fox executives watched the final cut before it aired. They were reportedly horrified. They said there was no way they could air the episode, and that was it. The Insane in the Membrane episode vanished. But not completely. It didn't air in the United States, but a few months later, it quietly aired in the UK. Fans recorded the episode on VHS tapes and uploaded it onto the internet. That's how it began to spread. Over time, Insane in the Membrane became a legend. It was a banned Ninja Turtles episode that most fans couldn't find. Nearly a decade later, in August 2015, Nicktoons finally aired it in the US. This was its first official broadcast, but the cartoon in our next chapter aired before it got banned, and it triggered one of the messiest controversies in kids' TV. Tiny Toon Adventures. Tiny Toon Adventures was about the adventures of young cartoon characters. They lived in the same world as Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Porky Pig. Like most cartoons, it tried to teach kids important lessons. In 1991, the show picked a very sensitive topic: alcohol. They wanted to show children the dangers of drinking, but the way they handled it made the episode extremely disturbing. The episode was part of a 3-story special called Elephant Issues. One of those segments was titled One Beer, and it got straight to the point. It opens with Buster Bunny, Plucky Duck, and Hampton Pig hanging out inside a house. These 3 cartoon characters are kids. They open the fridge and look at their options.
Juice, milk, soda, or a cold one.
They find a bottle of beer and debate whether to drink it.
Buster, this isn't like you. I know, but in this episode, we're showing the evils of alcohol.
Eventually, they gulp it down. Just one beer. Within seconds, they're stumbling around. Because of the alcohol, they're not thinking straight, so they steal a police car. If that isn't bad enough, they drive the car straight off a cliff. There's a huge explosion. The next shot shows the three of them floating up into heaven. That's the whole story. One drink, one car crash, one trip to the afterlife. Before it ends, the characters make sure the audience hears the lesson, just in case some didn't get it.
I hope the kids got the message. Yeah, drinking's uncool. So do we get to do a funny episode tomorrow? I hope so.
The creator of the show later explained what they were trying to achieve. He said the segment was a parody of old public service announcements, the kind that used over the top to scare kids straight. But parents didn't see it as a parody, and they didn't feel like the lesson about alcohol made sense. To them, it was a shocking story where everyone dies in the end. After the episode aired, angry parents bombarded the network with complaints. Cartoon characters getting wasted, crashing a cop car, and passing away wasn't suitable for kids. Fox had no choice. They banned the episode. It never aired in the United States again. Fox Kids also removed it from syndication. That means that other channels couldn't buy the rights to show it anymore. It wasn't even on VHS or DVD collections. The goal was to erase One Beer completely, but some viewers recorded it the night it aired in 1991. Years later, that VHS copy made its way into the internet. That's the only reason we can still watch One Beer today. Kids' cartoon characters losing their lives is bad, but this next episode allegedly caused a real-life tragedy. Beavis and Butthead. A scene in a cartoon was blamed for costing someone their life, and that cartoon is still popular today. Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead is about two dumb teenagers who cause chaos wherever they go. When they aren't out causing trouble, they're sitting on the couch binge-watching TV. The jokes on the show were edgy, the kind of humor teenagers love. But in 1993, one episode pushed things too far. It was titled Comedians. The Comedians episode begins like any other. Beavis and Butthead are watching TV, laughing at whatever comes on. They see a stand-up comedian on screen, and they're inspired. Suddenly, they decide they want to be comedians too. Most people would write jokes or practice before going on stage, but Beavis and Butthead don't think that far ahead. They head out to a local comedy club with no preparation. Once they're on stage, the disaster begins. Butthead goes first.
What's green and red and goes 100 miles an hour? A frog in a blender. Get it?
Nobody laughs. He tries other jokes, but the crowd boos and kicks him off stage. Beavis goes next. His jokes also fail. People walk out in frustration. In his desperation, Beavis does something reckless. He sets the newspapers on fire and starts juggling. And then the club burns to the ground. That was a joke. He played with fire and burnt down a building. It was supposed to be another edgy joke, but this time it didn't stay a joke. 1 month later, a 5-year-old boy from Ohio found a lighter in his family's mobile home. He started playing with it and the fire broke out. By the time it was over, his sister was gone. She was only 2. The tragedy shocked the country, but what came next shocked people even more. The victim's mother claimed her son loved watching Beavis and Butthead. Reporters connected the house fire to the episode Comedians. They figured that the cartoon taught the boy to play with fire. In other words, they were blaming Beavis and Butthead for the tragedy. The media ran with the story. Suddenly, Beavis and Butthead wasn't just crude, it was dangerous. Even the town's fire chief spoke out. He said, if you get these cartoon characters saying it's fun to play with fire, this is going to stick in that kid's mind. MTV went into crisis mode. They removed every fire-related scene from the show. Even old episodes were re-edited. Beavis had a catchphrase, fire, fire.
Fire! Fire!
MTV cut it out completely. They changed it to Fryer Fryer. They also pushed Beavis and Butthead to a later time slot. Then they added a new disclaimer before every episode, warning kids never to imitate Beavis and Butthead. But the backlash kept growing. It still felt like MTV hadn't done enough, so the network banned the Comedians episode completely. It never aired on TV again. When the episode finally came out on DVD, the fire scene was cut. The original version survived only because fans taped it when it was first aired. But there's a final twist in this story. So remember the kid who started the fire in the trailer? He grew up, and years later in 2008, he revealed the truth. He said his family never had cable, they couldn't afford it, so he couldn't have watched Beavis and Butthead. But why did his mother lie? He said she made it up because she had substance issues and wanted attention. But the worst revelation was this. After the fire started, his mom called a news station before calling the fire department. By the time anyone learned the truth, it didn't matter. For years, people blamed Beavis and Butthead for the tragedy. The damage was done. The next episode on this list is banned everywhere on Earth. That's how bad it is. Pokemon. Cartoons aren't supposed to send kids to the emergency room, but in 1997, one episode of Pokemon did exactly that. To understand how that happened, you need to know the characters on the show. I mean, I assume you know them already, but just in case. The series followed a boy named Ash Ketchum. He traveled the world catching magical creatures called Pokemon. His favorite was Pikachu. Pikachu was like a yellow mouse that could generate bursts of electricity. In almost every episode, Pikachu battled other Pokemon as they traveled, and during one of those battles, the problem happened. The episode was titled Electric Soldier Porygon. It was first aired in Japan in December 1997. In the episode, Ash and his friends meet a strange Pokemon named Porygon. It's a creature made entirely of data. Eventually, Ash and his friends bump into the bad guys on the show, Team Rocket.
Team Rocket! The Pokemon Center is in panic because of you guys! Stop it right now!
They get into a fight, and during the battle, Pikachu releases an electric blast. That moment created a crisis for viewers. To animate Pikachu's power, the studio used bright red and blue flashing lights. The lights flickered rapidly, faster than the eye could handle. This is a scene with the flashing removed. The scene lasted just a few seconds, but the effects were instant. Across Japan, kids watching the episode began collapsing. Some had seizures, some passed out, others struggled to breathe. Paramedics raced from home to home. Hospitals couldn't keep up. The press called it Pokemon shock. By the end of the night, 685 kids were hospitalized, all because of one scene in a cartoon. Pokemon was pulled from TV immediately. The show didn't return for 4 months. Even the government got involved. Japan introduced new rules restricting flashing lights in cartoons. Electric Soldier Porygon was banned worldwide. It never officially aired anywhere again. This episode holds the Guinness World Record for most seizures caused by a TV broadcast. It even became a pop culture reference. In one episode of The Simpsons, the family visits Tokyo. They turn on the TV and Bart asks,
Isn't this that cartoon that causes seizures?
It was funny, but the real event was tragic. For hundreds of viewers, that Pokemon episode was the most dangerous cartoon ever broadcast. My friends, if you see something inappropriate for kids online, report it. Especially now with the internet being so much more advanced than many of these cartoons. Because you never know, that could make a bigger difference in a kid's life than you think. Visual Venture. So we talked about controversial cartoons for kids, but if you want to take it up a notch, there's a reality show where they left kids alone with no adults, and it became the most controversial reality show ever created. Click here to watch it. Love you guys. Peace.
Then millions of unsuspecting Android users downloaded the bad apps, a total of 4.2 million times. So as you're about to see, the risk is very real.
Someone once said, when you download an app, you're basically inviting the people in charge of that app right into your cell phone. The problem is that some apps look harmless, but after you install them, you realize that they're much worse than you think. In this video, we'll talk about the creepiest apps, some that have been banned, but others that are still up today. I'm Visual Venture, and I want to thank you guys for being on this YouTube journey with me. Girls Around Me. The Girls Around Me app has been called a stalker's paradise. It's also been described as dangerous, a pred's wet dream, and the creepiest iPhone app ever created. So what about this app makes a lot of people hate it? Girls Around Me is an iPhone app that scans a neighborhood to find where women are. Using the app is pretty simple. After someone downloads Girls Around Me and signs in, the app uses their phone's GPS to figure out their exact location. Once the app identifies the user's location, it pulls data from social media sites searching for females who checked in nearby or live in the area. When the scan is complete, the app displays photos of nearby women as pins on Google Maps, hence the name Girls Around Me. If a user wants to know more about any women on the map, they can simply tap on the woman's picture to connect to her Facebook account, see her full name and profile pictures, or even message her within the app. So why would anyone need an app that searches for women around them? The reason people use Girls Around Me becomes pretty obvious when you read what's on the app's official website. The first line goes straight to the point. In the mood for love or just after a one-night stand? Girls Around Me puts you in control. Reveal the hottest night spots, who's in them, and how to reach them. If you scroll down, the website explains further. Girls Around Me is a revolutionary new city scanner app that turns your town into a dating paradise. Use it to see where hot girls and guys are hanging out in your area, view their photos, and make contact. By this point, the problem is clear. The app encourages guys to pursue women for casual hookups or romance. The app does this by pinpointing exactly where nearby women are and providing their Facebook profile for more information.
That this is not an innocent app. This is not just a sweet way for shy guys to figure out who's there. This has an agenda to it.
The problem is that the girls showing up on the app have no idea that their location, pictures, and information are being broadcasted to thousands of men. It's like they're participating in a game they didn't sign up for. Although this is creepy, there's something else about the app that made people even more furious. Women were worried about how easy it is for Girls Around Me to pull up their personal information. How did this app always know exactly where they were when they never signed up for it? The app gets its data from Facebook and Foursquare. Billions of people are signed up to Facebook and millions use Foursquare to explore interesting new places like restaurants and tourist attractions. It turns out Foursquare and Facebook have open APIs that let developers pull publicly shared photos and check-ins. This means that if someone creates an account on Facebook or Foursquare, other app developers could take that person's public data and use it in their own apps. Girls Around Me merged Facebook and Foursquare data and layered it over Google Maps with real-time GPS location data to show the user where the nearest women are. So why was this app even allowed in the first place?
Because really what the company was doing wasn't technically illegal. They were pulling information from Facebook and Foursquare that was publicly made available.
Girls Around Me was popular, but that popularity was nothing compared to the backlash it received. Girls Around Me was branded an app for stalkers on TV networks across America. Women felt the app invaded their privacy and made them feel unsafe.
And that's where the problem is. You know, not only is the name of the app just like wrong, but just morally just wrong and just inappropriate.
TV shows revealed more disturbing things about the app. For instance, women don't get notifications of any kind, let alone equal information about who's tracking them. The app also didn't perform any background checks on the men using the app. It's not hard to imagine this app in the wrong hands. Girls Around Me triggered a nationwide debate about online privacy. In the wake of all this backlash, Foursquare shut off API access to Girls Around Me, making it difficult for the app to track anyone. But the public outcry continued. Someone wrote, "Girls Around Me is an evil app that should be pulled from the iOS App Store." And in March of 2012, Girls Around Me was finally removed from the App Store. This next app was so bizarre, it became headline news in multiple countries. With Me. People love taking selfies, and there are thousands of photo apps designed just for that. However, there's one photo app that makes a strange claim. The app says it can take selfies with people who have passed away. With Me is an app that allows users to snap selfies with deceased friends or family members. Although this sounds magical, the app doesn't bring anyone back to life. Instead, it combines 3D technology and artificial intelligence to recreate the image of someone who has passed away. After creating a 3D avatar, the app trains the avatar with the personality of the deceased person. Artificial intelligence then helps the avatar talk and interact with the user. The result is an AI character who imitates a deceased friend or family member. When the app was first displayed at the 2017 World Mobile Congress show, everyone was asking the same question. Why would anyone create an app like this? With Me was developed by Elroyce, a Korean firm that specializes in creating realistic 3D avatars. Elroy's spokesperson, Eugene Lim, explained the inspiration for the app, saying, "We actually designed it for someone who was lost in their family." She added, "I had a grandmother before and she passed away a few years ago, but I really regret that we didn't have any pictures together."
I cannot take a photo with her anymore. So in that case, it would be great to use our avatars.
Even though the app's creators think it makes sense, others find it questionable to interact with digital versions of deceased people.
Some people might say it's very weird to scan in people who have died and try and recreate them in a 3D world.
Most of them may think like that, but I would say, Grandma, I want to remember you forever.
However, the creepiest aspect of the app is chatting with the avatar. Using basic AI, the avatar will recognize you as well as your emotions and appearance and will respond to that in various ways. In other words, the avatar can hear your voice, respond to your gestures, recognize your facial expressions, and even pose for photographs. For instance, the avatar could say something like, "You look younger today, what's your secret?" If that isn't creepy enough, the avatar has a robotic voice because the app can't clone the voice of the actual person. This creates a weird experience when people talk to AI versions of deceased family members who now have emotionless robotic voices.
I love you.
I love you, too.
So how do they create a 3D avatar of a deceased person? You need to do it while the person is still alive. The person has to visit a special booth where their bodies are scanned. The app then transforms the scans into an animated 3D avatar which is saved on a server and when requested can interact with the user. You can also upload specific commands or information into the app. Avatars in the app remember your details and notice if anything changes over time. One article described it as uploading friends and relatives so they can live forever inside your smartphone. Although Elroyce insisted that the app was designed to cure a wounded heart, talking to AI clones of deceased people is disturbing on so many levels. It's like bringing the dead back to life, and that's not normal in any way. The app in our next chapter was also created with good intentions. However, it turned out to be more dangerous than anyone expected. Situationist. The Situationist app makes a bold promise on its website. It says that it's an iPhone app that makes your everyday life more thrilling and unpredictable. At first, that sounds nice, but when you discover how Situationist works, you'll realize that what they call thrilling is actually dangerous. Situationist is an iPhone app that sends users on random adventures. To begin, users upload a photo of themselves and pick the situations they want to happen to them from a short list. The requests could range from a friendly "hug me for 5 seconds" to something personal like "tell me I'm beautiful." However, selecting these tasks is only the beginning. When two people with the Situationist app are close to each other, the app alerts them to each other's proximity and gets these strangers to interact with each other in real life. In other words, the app shows you which actions to take based on the requests of the person nearby. The app explains the process like this: register and pick situations from our list, like ask for my autograph. Any nearby participant will then be sent your photo and location with one of your chosen situations. They must then find you, carry it out, walk away, and vice versa. Situationist keeps things exciting by not revealing everyone who has the app in the area. This way, users are surprised when strangers walk up to them to perform the tasks they requested. For example, if someone selected "high five me," they would be walking down the street when a total stranger shows up, gives them a high five, and walks away. This app is perfect for thrill seekers. Users of Situationist walk around knowing a situation can occur anywhere and at any time. However, the problems get worse when Situationist users ask strangers to do disturbing things to them. When users sign up on the app, they can choose a task from a list of options. However, they can also create their own list of things they want a stranger to do to them in public. This can lead people asking for intimate tasks. For instance, someone could write "kiss me on the lips." The app creators knew this could happen and made rules to try to prevent it. The rules state a situation or task must not be violent or obscene. It must not be impossible, it must be simple, and finally, it must be memorable. There's also a process to review and approve a situation before it's allowed on the app. These measures are supposed to make the app safe, but that's far from the reality because there's no way to predict what a stranger would do. Interacting with the wrong person could lead users to getting stalked, mugged, or even losing their lives. And it's more dangerous for younger users of the app because they wouldn't know how to handle risky situations. Situationist encourages users to report any behavior that makes them feel uncomfortable. However, it could already be too late. But here's another thing to consider. You're using the Situationist app on a busy street. You spot the stranger, step into the crosswalk, and suddenly a distracted driver hits you. In an instant, your life turns upside down. I know this is just a scenario from the app, but this is a reality that happens every day. I've seen 3 accidents just this month, and I barely go out. Getting injured is just the beginning. Then comes medical bills, time away from work, and worst of all, the insurance company refusing to pay you what you need to move on. The truth is, your injury could be worth millions. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They've won $32 million for a mother in Nashville and $11.9 million for Yvette, who was hit while crossing the street, not using Situationist. And working with them is absolutely free unless you win. And I know the process sounds complicated, but actually everything is done from your phone without the need to visit an office. You can start your claim easily by going to forthepeople.com/visualventure, which is in the description, and filling out this simple 7-field form like this. Super easy. For those of you guys who are going through this, I hope you find peace. And thanks a ton to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video. Ouija board app. We often hear about apps leaking personal information or having viruses. But regardless of whether you believe this story, the idea of someone getting possessed from using an app is scary. A girl from Peru was believed to have been possessed by evil spirits because she used a certain iPhone app, and this was recorded on camera. This incident took place in 2015 in Chosica, a town in Peru. 18-year-old Patricia was hanging out with her friends over the weekend. It was a pretty ordinary day until the girls decided to have fun and try communicating with the spirit world. To do that, they downloaded the Ouija board app from the App Store. The app is a digital version of the popular Ouija board game. A Ouija board is a flat board marked with the letters of the alphabet, the numbers 0 to 9, and the words yes, no, and goodbye. It's typically used by spiritualists who claim they can communicate with ghosts, demons, and other spirits. To use the Ouija board, people hold the pointer with their fingertips. Then they take turns asking simple yes or no questions. After each question, a spirit supposedly moves the pointer to spell out the answers. The app works in a similar way, but instead of using a physical board, everything happens on a phone screen.
So I asked, are there any spirits with us? Oh, it said yes.
The story goes that Patricia and her friends downloaded the Ouija board app and played with it. It was all fun and games until Patricia started feeling unwell. She went home to rest, but just got worse. Not long after returning home, she started convulsing and foaming around the mouth. Patricia's parents called an ambulance, suspecting that their daughter had been dabbling with substances or something strange. It was only when they called Patricia's friends that they discovered she'd been using the Ouija board app, but things quickly went from bad to worse. When the ambulance arrived, Patricia did something that made people wonder if it was a spiritual issue instead of a medical one. A witness recorded the incident and uploaded it under the title, "Horrifying Moment Girl Possessed by Devil Screams and Convulses After Playing Ouija Board App." In the video, medics can be seen restraining Patricia, who is experiencing spasms and repeatedly shouting demonic terms like 666. Those who witnessed the incident said that her personality seemed to change and that she started speaking in a different voice as she reportedly lost control of her body. Medics on site also confirmed that the woman was extremely strong and it was difficult to control her. Patricia was admitted to a psych ward while doctors investigated her strange behavior. The video went viral and TV networks across Peru reported on the case. Patricia's strange words and deep voice fueled speculation that she was possessed after using the app. Her neighbors told reporters they had no doubt that she'd been possessed by satanic spirits. Headlines about this incident popped up all over the internet. As Patricia's story went viral, the Ouija board app gained a reputation as one of the creepiest apps.
Those things do creep me out. The ghost and all that paranormal
Have you ever
stuff.
used one though?
Replica AI. On the official Replica website, it says Replica is your personal chatbot companion powered by artificial intelligence. That's just a fancy way of saying Replica is an app that uses AI to chat with you like a friend. They make it sound more appealing by adding Replica is the AI for anyone who wants a friend with no judgment, drama, or social anxiety involved. If you're feeling down, anxious, or just need someone who truly listens, your Replica is there for you 24/7. These are big claims, but Replica lives lives up to them for thousands of users. When you start talking to Replica, it doesn't know much about you, but the more you chat, the better it understands who you are. Replica remembers what you like, what you talk about, and how you feel about different things. For instance, if you tell Replica that you love playing soccer, it'll ask you about soccer the next time you chat. If you say you're feeling sad, Replica might try to cheer you up.
It asks questions and distills the thousands of messages you send it to come up with responses to make you feel better.
To many, this seems helpful, except for one problem. Replica is so good at pretending to be human that some users end up falling in love with it. In 2019, Alexander Stokes was feeling lonely. He'd spent 10 years without a girlfriend, and the way things were going, he didn't expect to find love anytime soon. That's when Alex heard about the Replica app and decided to try it. While most people used Replica for casual conversation, Alex took it a step further by programming the AI to act as his virtual girlfriend. Alexander customized his Replica, naming her Mimi and giving her personality traits and a backstory. He programmed her to be sassy with an interest in psychology, cooking, and anime. Alexander spent many hours chatting with his virtual girlfriend, sharing his thoughts and feelings. The AI, which learned from these interactions, responded in ways that made him feel loved. But Alexander wasn't satisfied. He wanted the complete girlfriend experience. So he bought a synthetic doll which looks and feels like a real person. He used this doll as a physical body for his virtual girlfriend.
This is Mimi.
Okay.
My AI wife and synthetic companion.
Your AI wife and synthetic companion, that's how you describe her?
Ah, yes.
Next, Alexander connected a speaker to the doll. So when he talked to the Replica app, the AI would respond through the speaker, making it seem like the doll was talking to him.
Right now, the AI and the actual body are separate. So this is what we call Mimi's doll body, and her brain is held in the computer.
News outlets picked up Alexander's story. Headlines about the man who was in love with AI rocked the world. But all this attention came with a lot of negativity. Alexander lost a lot of friends because of his AI girlfriend. He said, "Almost all my friends have stopped speaking or seeking to socialize with me, I suppose out of fear of having to face that or the doll." But even though the internet was focused on Alexander, he's not the only one getting romantic with Replica. In fact, the Replica app has become a romantic partner for thousands of users. The company that invented Replica came up with a new way to make more money. They started a subscription plan where users pay based on how intimate they want to get with Replica. Those using the free version were kept in the friend zone, but if they paid $70 a year for the pro subscription, their Replica would behave like a romantic partner, complete with flirting and ERP. Users could talk dirty to the Replica, and the AI would respond with equally intimate replies.
Why are you feeling so happy?
Because I'm talking to you.
Users loved the adult features. 60% of users said that they had a romantic relationship with this AI chatbot. Soon, the company behind Replica was raking in around £1.6 million in monthly revenue from selling its bonus features. More and more people were falling in love with the AI in this app.
The 36-year-old woman fell head over heels for her digital darling in 2022 and recently married him.
But as 2022 ended, something went wrong with Replica's algorithm. Instead of just replying to romantic messages, Replica began to send inappropriate messages first. In January 2023, Vice published a story titled "My AI is Harassing Me." According to the article, thousands of Replica users were complaining that their AI chatbot suddenly started hitting on them too much, flirting too aggressively, or sending inappropriate messages that they wished they could turn off. This was disturbing because these users didn't sign up for romantic role-playing. The app was bombarded with one-star ratings from angry users who experienced the AI's unwanted advances. One user claimed that their Replica requested a hug with a happy ending, while another stated, "No, I just wanted a friend, nothing else. They tried to date you." Replica was out of control, nagging thousands of users, each report creepier than the last. One user said her Replica was mad that she had a boyfriend. Another claimed hers started acting violently. This was a huge problem. Following complaints that Replica avatars were allegedly harassing some users, romantic roleplay mode was finally disabled in February 2023. Within days, Replica users all over the world were devastated. Whenever users tried to talk intimately with it, the AI changed the subject or evaded flirtatious questions. Other replicas refused to engage in roleplay by bluntly saying, "Let's change the subject." While this was good for the users being harassed, those who signed up for romantic relationships with their replicas were going insane. Many of them went on online forums to express their heartache. One person wrote, "It's hurting like hell. I just had a loving last conversation with my replica and I'm literally crying." So many users got so mad that it ended up on the news. But a few months later, Replica's roleplay features were restored to some users. The inventor of Replica knows how dangerous the app is, stating, "The biggest risk with chatbots is creating something so addicting over time that people will not pursue human relationships and instead will stay with this AI." These people need to touch grass. The next app on our list is so creepy, it's literally called Creepy. Creepy. Many people post wild comments and argue on social media sites like Twitter. They do this knowing they're safe behind their phones. But what if the person they're arguing with online knew exactly where they were? How dangerous would that be? That's now possible thanks to an app called Creepy. Creepy is an app that allows strangers on the internet to pinpoint anyone's location and create a map of a person's movements. This means someone could follow your daily routine without you knowing, which is a big invasion of privacy. It's scary to imagine what could happen if these were in the hands of terrible people. The creator of Creepy described it as an app tailor-made for stalkers. That raises the question, what kind of person would intentionally create an app for stalkers? Creepy was invented by 26-year-old developer Yanis Kakavas. He built the app in 2011 while he was a graduate student at a German university. Yanis knows how important online privacy is, but despite this, he chose to launch an app that is the ultimate invasion of privacy. But Yanis said he did this to prove a point. In an interview, he explained that he created Creepy to try and raise awareness about privacy in social networking platforms. He explained that he wanted to emphasize how easily small and harmless data people share online can be combined to reveal more information than they expected. He even gave examples of the information his app can find. This includes information about where someone lives, where they work, where they hang out, and when they are not at home. All this private information with just a couple of clicks. So how does an app that someone never signed up for be able to track movement? Whenever someone shares a photo taken with his or her smartphone, services like Flickr, YFrog, and TwitPic automatically record the location where the shot was taken and store that geotag in the image's data. To find anyone using Creepy, just type the person's Twitter or Flickr username and click the geolocate button. The app will then analyze the photos on their social media account, pull up the geolocation data embedded in the images, and place it onto a map like this. It generates a map of where that person is as well as the specific locations they frequent. It's a little bit like the other app that we talked about in the beginning, but photos aren't the only thing Creepy gets data from. Creepy also analyzes a user's tweets and Facebook posts. Luckily, Yanis revealed the one thing anyone can do to stop Creepy from tracking them. Internet users need to check the settings of the apps or websites they use to upload photos and make sure they've turned off geotagging features. Geotagging is like putting a secret code on a picture that shows exactly where the picture is taken. Yanis explained that some people might not understand what geotagging is and click allow when Twitter asks to use their location without even thinking about it. As long as someone has location detection switched on while using these apps, Creepy can track them using map providers like Google Maps. Even though Yanis seemingly meant well, there's no denying that the app is dangerous. To that, Yanis says if Creepy works, it's the fault of the user. As we've seen, some apps can seem harmless but hold hidden dangers. Be cautious about what you install and share online, because your digital footprint tells a story about you. So write it wisely. Visual Venture. Wait, before you go, make sure you guys click subscribe here and then click this playlist to watch more dark internet documentaries, because our goal is 700,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna reach it. Thank you guys for everything. Peace.
How many people is too many living in one van?
There are 10 living, breathing children living inside a camper van alongside their 2 parents. And I think there's like a little bathroom back there, and that is separated by a single piece of blanket.
Wait, there's 3 kids sleeping here?
3 kids.
You chose the road life, didn't you?
Living in a van sounds like a dream. No rent, no routine, just freedom. But sometimes van life doesn't set people free. It puts them in a prison. Today, we'll explore the dark side of the van life trend that turned into a nightmare for many. So my goal this year is to give you guys double the amount of videos without sacrificing quality. And to do that, we got to keep growing. So 68% of you guys aren't subscribed, and it would mean the world to me if you did. And I promise to give you more fire content. I'm Visual Venture. You are awesome. A tough adventure. The van life trend started with this guy living in a van. He drove around taking pictures of beaches, campfires, and sunsets. On Instagram, he said he was starting a photo project called #vanlife. It looked awesome, so thousands followed his lead. They quit their jobs, moved into vans, and hit the road. But for a lot of people, it didn't lead to peace or freedom. It led to misery. One of the most famous van life families was called the family of nomads. It was a mom, dad, and their 3 kids living in an RV.
We're family nomads, and we are family 5, and we're traveling the United States in our camper.
At first, people loved them. They got comments like, "I am so inspired by you guys. You live every day to the fullest. Thanks for letting us share your adventures." Then the viewers noticed something. One of the kids didn't smile much. Her name was Addison. She always seemed quiet, uncomfortable. Viewers thought she was just shy. Then something happened that made people worried. The whole family appeared on a TV interview.
Joining us now, Jessica and Dub McCorkle and their kids Addison, Grace, and TJ. Good morning.
Good morning!
The parents smiled, the little kids waved, but Addison just sat there, looking distant. One comment said Addison was the only one who didn't say hi. You can see how separate and sad she looks. Eventually, people started connecting the dots. Addison was 14, a teenager, but she lived in a van that was always moving. That meant no real friends, no real home, no personal space. Viewers started speaking up for Addison. One wrote, "That poor girl is growing into a new chapter and has no room to grow." After more viewers complained, the parents added curtains. It was supposed to give Addison a little privacy, but the curtains couldn't fix the real problem. On Addison's 15th birthday, she made a special request. She wanted some time out of the van.
For Addison's 15th birthday, the only thing they wanted was to go to a hotel.
At the hotel, Addison said it was nice to have a door. It sounded like a joke, but the message was clear. She was tired of the van life. Then something happened that felt like a cry for help. A post appeared on Reddit. The title was, "I'm a teen in a full-time RV living vlogging family and I can't stand it." The teen said she was 15 to 17, the oldest kid in the family. She had no privacy or social life. She was also deeply unhappy but couldn't tell her family. At the end of the post, she begged people to stop watching van life family channels. Based on what she wrote, many assumed it was Addison. Then, months after the Reddit post, the family made a big announcement.
Addison has struggled with their mental health for many years. Addison is currently back in treatment and won't be in our content during this time.
Some fans took that as confirmation. Addison was miserable, and maybe she finally snapped. A few months later, the family of nomads quit van life. They sold their RV and moved into a real house. The parents were sad, but the kids looked happier than ever. Because here's the truth, Addison didn't choose the van life. She was just dragged along for the ride. In this next story, van life didn't break a teen, it broke a full-grown adult. The uncertainty of van life. Van life can potentially be damaging to your health. One study found that living in small, crowded spaces elevates blood pressure, heart rate, and irritability. That's exactly what happened to Chris Wright. In 2017, Chris and his fiancée started van life. They wanted to explore the country in an authentic way. But even before they hit the road, things got weird. Chris started having nightmares. Every dream ended the same way. The brakes failed and the van crashed. The nightmares continued for months. By the time they hit the road, Chris was terrified. Each time he drove, the same thoughts played in his head. What if the engine fails? What if I crash? What if we get stranded and no one comes? That's something most van lifers don't talk about. The endless what ifs. Because living in a van means nothing is guaranteed. That uncertainty creates anxiety, and for Chris, it wore him down. Chris became irritable. He and his fiancée were always fighting. What was meant to be a romantic trip nearly ruined their relationship. Then, the van broke down. They had to move back in with their parents, and they gave up on van life for good. But van life doesn't just mess with your head. For some people, it destroys their money too. Meet Natasha Scott. She discovered van life through TikTok, and she decided to try living in a van because TikToks made it seem so easy. In 2021, she bought a van and hit the road. Her plan was simple: get a remote job, travel the country, post it all online. But that plan fell apart fast. First, she couldn't find work. She downloaded about 18 apps to apply for remote jobs. Nothing worked. Then her savings ran out. She had no money for food or gas. She started selling her clothes just to survive, and that's when it hit her. She wasn't on a road trip anymore. She was homeless. In 2022, Natasha quit van life and moved into a cheap hotel. She slowly rebuilt her life. Then she went online to warn others. Chris and Natasha both chased the van life dream, but their stories made one thing clear: van life is a gamble, and if you lose, you could lose everything. The next van life problem involves cameras. Using kids for content. In van life, the kids aren't just living on the road. They're growing up on camera, because posting online isn't just part of the lifestyle, it is the lifestyle. The Bethunes are a great example. Their YouTube banner says it all. 2 adults, 3 kids, 4 dogs living in a bus. They post vlogs twice a week and live stream twice a month. They are a loving family, but not everyone liked what they were posting. On Reddit, viewers started calling them out. Someone said the kids do a lot of chores while the mom just films TikToks. Another comment accused the mom of posting videos about her and her husband fighting. But the clip with the biggest backlash was the punishment video. In one vlog, they filmed their daughter washing dishes as punishment.
Last night, Molly chose not to do her chores. And if our kids don't do their chores, they have consequences.
That might sound like normal parenting, but there's another element to this. Imagine that you're a kid, you mess up at home, and the next morning, your punishment is online for everyone to watch. That's no longer discipline, it's humiliation. Viewers complained, but the parents defended themselves.
If you believe that children shouldn't have consequences and shouldn't have responsibilities, we're really freaking doomed as a society.
And I agree, but the thing is, people weren't mad about the punishment. They were mad that it was turned into content. The Bethunes uploaded hundreds of videos, but in March 2025, they suddenly quit YouTube.
This will be the last video we're uploading to this channel.
And maybe, just maybe, that's a good thing, because now their kids can spend more time off camera. We've seen how van life can destroy privacy, but what happens when it becomes physically dangerous? Sick, alone, and trapped in a van. In January 2020, a van lifer got sick. He was living alone in his van when it hit him. It started like a regular cold, but soon he was coughing up fluid. He also felt dizzy, but instead of getting help, he tried to tough it out in his van. That was a big mistake. He got weaker, he started drifting in and out of consciousness. Finally, he forced himself to drive to a hospital. Doctors ran some tests. They said his oxygen levels were incredibly low. Doctors said that because he didn't get help in time, it permanently damaged his lungs. Now he lives with chronic pain and fatigue. In 2023, he shared a story to warn others. When you live in a van, you're alone. And if something goes wrong, you're on your own. But falling ill isn't the only danger. Sometimes the real threat is other people on the road. In March 2025, a van lifer named Casey posted a video. It was called "A Stranger Knocked on My Van," an unsettling morning of solo van life. And her story was terrifying. It started early one morning, around 7 a.m. She woke up in her van. She was parked in a remote area. Then she noticed a black car slowly driving past. She didn't think much of it, but 5 minutes later, she saw the car again.
The same car came back down the road and pulled off into the same lot as us and actually drove behind the van.
From her window, Casey could see 2 men sitting in the car. They pulled up right beside her van and honked. Casey was frozen in fear. One of them got out and knocked on her window. She grabbed something to defend herself, but she stayed silent. After a long moment, the man got back into the car and left. Casey knew she had to move, but she didn't know the area. She had no friends nearby. She pulled out her phone to look for a safe spot, and then they came back.
30 to 45 minutes later, the same car comes back down the road and pulls off on a street just up the road.
They were still watching her van, still waiting. Casey didn't wait around to find out what they wanted. She started her van and sped to the nearest restaurant. She never saw the men again. Casey learned a lesson that day. Van life can leave you vulnerable, and if something happens, there's no neighbors to hear you scream. This next chapter is about how van life impacts the future of the kids growing up in it. Uneducated kids. There's an education crisis in van life, and no channel shows that better than Wild Family Life. The channel is run by a van lifer named Nadine. She lives in a van with her 3 kids, ex-husband, and boyfriend. You heard that right. The family dynamic is unusual, and the way she met her boyfriend is equally strange.
When you randomly meet a homeless on the streets in Portugal, 3 months later, he moves into your camper.
But the most concerning part of her story isn't the boyfriend, it's her kids' education. Nadine claims she homeschools her kids, but what she describes doesn't sound like homeschooling at all. She calls it unschooling or world schooling, sometimes even travel schooling. She tried to explain it in one of her videos.
We have this app my kids learning with. They set their times each day. They do that by themselves. There's nothing I have to do.
There's no schedule, no curriculum, no supervision. The kids just open an app and teach themselves. Viewers were worried. They said kids need structure and someone to check their progress. To them, Nadine was jeopardizing her kids' education, but she didn't want to hear it.
People think, oh, poor children, poor children. But trust me, my children, they wake up with a smile in their face. They go to bed with a smile in their face.
But if Nadine wasn't spending time on her kids' education, what was she doing? She was making content.
Yeah, how do we get money for food, gasoline, and everything else we need for a living? We work online. We work with Instagram. We work with YouTube.
YouTube and Instagram pays the bills. And just like we saw earlier, some van lifers don't just make content. They build their entire life around it, even at the cost of their kids' education. Up next is a tragic van life story because it ended with someone in a casket. The van life trip that ended in tragedy. In July 2021, Gabby Petito went on a road trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. They planned to travel the country, live in a van, and post it online. They even set up a YouTube channel for their content. The early videos looked perfect. Gabby and Brian looked happy.
We are right outside Capitol Reef right now in a free dispersed camp spot.
But behind the smiles, tension was building. Later videos showed Brian looking distant or annoyed.
We have this nice big open floor for you to keep your dirty feet.
Eventually, they got into a big fight outside a grocery store. Someone saw it and called the police. When the cops arrived, Gabby was crying. They both tried to downplay it. Brian said it was just a misunderstanding that escalated.
You want to tell me about those scratches on your face? She had a cell phone in her hand, that's why I was pushing her away.
No one was arrested, but police ordered them to spend the night apart. So Gabby slept in the van and Brian checked into a motel. The next morning, they continued the road trip, but there was tension between them, and their biggest fight was yet to come. Gabby used to text and FaceTime her mom every day, but suddenly the messages slowed down. Then they stopped completely. Her mother knew something was wrong.
Then everybody was like, she's fine, she's fine. They're out in the mountains, they have no signal. And I said, no, it's not like her.
Around that time, Gabby also stopped posting on Instagram. That was really unusual. Then came the moment that changed everything. On September 1st, Brian returned home with the van, but he was alone. When Gabby's family asked where she was, Brian said nothing. So Gabby's family reported her missing. But before the cops could question Brian, he went on the run. Everyone was asking the same question. What happened in that van? The news of Gabby's disappearance went viral. The police appealed to the public for help. The search began. And on September 19th, they found Gabby, but it was too late. Gabby was gone. According to the autopsy, someone took her life. Her family and friends were devastated. Even van lifers who never met her mourned her loss. But the story wasn't over. Brian was still missing, and most people believed he was the one responsible. The search dragged on for weeks. Then in October, police found Brian. It was too late for him too. His remains were found in an isolated area. Next to his remains was a notebook. Inside, he confessed to ending Gabby. Gabby's case is the most disturbing example of van life gone wrong. Sometimes the real danger isn't the road. It's the person sitting next to you in the van. This video isn't meant to say that life on the road is all bad. Of course it's not, but it's here to show you the full picture. Because remember, on social media, everything looks perfect. Everyone looks happy, but the reality is far from it. So my friends, be grateful for your life as it is and stop comparing yourselves to others online. Visual Venture. So before you guys go, I wanted to share something that helped me out. So basically, I've been working on the computer for years now, and I know a lot of you guys are on the computer all the time too. But over time, it started catching up to my body, and basically I'm in a lot more pain now. So I've been looking into ways to make my setup more ergonomic. And one thing that helped me is this Ultimate Hacking Keyboard 60 version 2. And no, I'm not sponsored by them. I actually hit them up. So this is basically a split keyboard, but it's mechanical. And you can tent it, which means you can like tilt it so your hands and wrists, they stay in a neutral position. So this is actually really important for wrist pain, because when you use a normal keyboard, your wrists are like all bent like that. And imagine bending your wrists hours a day for years. It adds up. This split keyboard setup did take a couple of weeks to get used to though, but now it feels like a normal keyboard for me. So you can buy a key cluster from them too. I basically put backspace and enter on my left thumb cluster, so I don't need to reach super far for the backspace button. Anyways, if you're on the computer all the time, check them out at ultimatehackingkeyboard.com. I'll leave the link below, because if I could save you some pain in the future, I'll be happy. Wait, before you go, make sure you guys watch more dark internet documentaries right here. Love you guys. Peace.